Hello and welcome to UK Versus, where unlike other social media groups, we're not for sale. I'm joined by Nick from Nick Marvelous and
Nick,
Nick Marvelous, perfect. And we're joined by Blame Siren of Undefeated Locals. We were going to be joined by the amazing Rebby Lynn, but unfortunately they've had some stuff come up. If they can get back in time, they will be joining us. But we're here to talk about the meta. We had the bans come down, nothing got changed, and people had a lot to say about it. And I was like, okay, cool, that's the next subject we've got in here. So, as we've got Korak's already been going on here, between Unyielding and the rotation, they're not the biggest fan of what's going on. Uh, let's just start off with the immediate question of how have your guys' week been, and how do you feel about the meta?
I can go first.
Yeah, go for it.
I've had a pretty good week, and honestly, I think the meta is pretty solid. Like, I know people don't like Mikasa and DJ, but I think there's also a problem of lack of defense in the format, and especially from players in general.
Makes no sense. And how about yourself, Nick?
my week has been going great. There's no complaints here, and I think the meta is pretty solid. I think there's a good variety of characters who represent the different kind of archetypes and game plans very well. And I would also echo that. I just think there's a lack of like defense currently, but yeah, I think everything's kind of okay.
No, it makes a lot of sense. For me, it isn't the lack of defense, it's the overwhelming offense. So I get where you guys are coming from, where you're saying kind of like the Phil Birch issue of just block. But when Devil Jin and Mikasa are able to drop 5, 6, 7 attacks on turn 2 with 4 foundations, you're basically going, well, I can build 3 foundations and hold 3 cards as a 6-hander and try to block 2 of them, or I can hope they don't have the gas, build 5 and pray I get another turn. Either way, you're in a bad position against characters that play essentially without progression, can boost ridiculous stats, and make it a lot harder for you to have a good play experience. I'm not saying they're the be all end all, but for the way I see control this game is everything has to go perfectly for you, whereas for Devil Jin and Mikasa to lose, everything kind of has to go wrong.
For sure. I guess it's a weird thing of I've played both of these decks, the ones you meant, Mikasa 4 and DJ. And in my experience, I never had like the amazing turn 2 hands. Now, maybe my luck is terrible, but I always drew into like 2 buildables on turn 1 and then was like an equipment heist and 4 attacks. Okay, I guess we'll just rock with it and check at 3.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I do think people have to take in context like the decks can just be extremely high rolly, and I think that's sometimes how they get their wins.
No, it makes a lot of sense to me. How about yourself, Nick?
I think it really comes down to like a lot of what cards, what gets drawn, and like what you're kind of prepared for. I think at this point, it's no surprise like how the decks work for Equipment Heist and Unyielding Destruction. And definitely, I definitely agree with a lot of people who say there isn't enough answers for these kinds of things, or that that you can set up a little bit better with an Unyielding because you get to play it. You have a hole in a hand step after the Blitz ability, and you reset the board. So, and then you get to continue your turn after, which is like fantastic. So, it's a very good card. But I think ultimately, if you're like an aggressive deck and you can get ahead of it and stay ahead of it, or just draw enough defensively, or know when to put on the brakes when the reset is going to happen, and kind of play around it. I think that's the just a sign of a good Universus player.
Yeah, being able to anticipate the Godzilla once per game, the Quirks Awakened, whatever the Shigaraki action's called, Decay Awakened.
Decay Awakened. Yeah.
And the destruction, be able to tell when your opponent is about to make those moves is a great kind of sign of a good player. but for a new player, it can lead to a negative play experience. And so at a regional, this is kind of fine, but if say you're at a store scramble, which is meant to be new player friendly, and your opponent's going
Mhm.
Elder to Goro unyielding destruction every single turn, it can kind of be in a bad state.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
I think if we're talking about the world's meta specifically,
Yeah.
though, I think realistically, you have to look at the competitive scene kind of going into the event, and I think all the top players of this game are smart enough to dance around these effects and abilities.
Yeah. You had something to say, Sarah?
I was just gonna reiterate, like at Scramble specifically, don't do that. Just as a thing, don't do that. That sounds awful. Um, but speaking to what Nick said, like worlds, especially focusing back, I know we're talking about unyielding destruction now, but I was just doing some research on the Buffalo list. It shocks me how few people are playing Scales of Juno when that is a complete counterpoint to both Mikasa and DJ.
Hmm. I mean, there was at least one player playing Scales of Juno, and it led to some issues. But I've got a whole video on that. But yeah, that's just it. There are specific cards that can counter the plays, but if you build your deck to counter Mikasa and Devil Jin, you may fall victim to other meta sleepers like Izuku Midori on the move, Hanj One, who may have lost some power pieces but are still threats. We saw Hanj One take down Glasgow Regionals without 9 Titans.
Yeah, for sure. I guess as somebody who went to Buffalo, I want to just talk about like in that competitive sense, I guess, seeing as it's the most recent, it's still the format that Worlds is
Yeah.
essentially. It was really weird to be the only water player in the room, or at least one of the only, because I got to main board Guardian Angel, main board Scales of Juno, and feel comfortable going into the whole meta. Um, so it's just like obviously water's not the best symbol and void is a better symbol, but I think it's just looking at all the options and trimming the fat in a sense. That's something I had to do was I trimmed the fat and I played like 2 copies of something in the main board, 2 more in the side if I ran into the matchup where it really mattered.
Hmm.
So I was prepared, but I wasn't over prepared, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I know there's a lot of Godzilla players that are looking at moving away from Chaos onto Earth because it gives them access to forcing surrender, which helps you to deal with equipment heist decks. You are completely correct. There are ways to build better and go, these are the decks that counter me. I need to change my symbol. I need to change my foundation base. I need to change the way my attacks are synergizing in order to counteract that meta. And that, again, is another sign of someone understanding competitive play, not just this is the best character on the best symbol that did well at Buffalo. Someone going, okay, these stuff did well at Buffalo. How does the game evolve from there? A perfect example for me is Broberg at Worlds last year. Everyone is worried about Godzilla, about Deku, about all these massive monster hitters, and he just comes in and dominates with Hanj One, and a lot of people had written this character off and gone, "Oh yeah, these other characters just walked them." And Broberg came in as a great player with a great character, absolutely doing a lot of fun. Uh, that's great to see, Kratos, that you've got the Star decks. I hope you have a lot of fun playing, and I hope you find some local play in your area. I know you've been looking quite hard. Seeing as Nick's had to be a bit quiet at the minute, and yeah, let's. For you, what are the big threats at the minute? What do you see as the potential problems?
Potential problems. I personally think the biggest problem, like that's kind of on the radar, is equipment heist. But aside from that, I don't know. I'm kind of always just let's whatever's out there is whatever's out there. You kind of have to play against it. But equipment heist definitely speaks a little bit louder. It kind of screams to me sometimes, as somebody who's played this game for a very decades now at this point. It just it screams problematic card. It's just not. Its stats don't say what it ultimately does with just everything as a whole in the game. That's like the number one target. Everything else, I think, is fine, but equipment heist is just gonna be nuts forever until there's something done with it.
Nice little sense. Equipment heist falls for me into the Giro twisting as an inferno kind of thing. It's fine on its own, but when you get things like massive mutant machine and other assets that just get to go, I get to do dumb stuff consistently. That's when the card kind of goes on. Like sweeping daggers is fine, and probably would have been banned if we didn't have the big 4-check attacks because it made those unplayable, which was kind of the issue. How about yourself, Simon? What would you identify as the problems in the matter?
I definitely think it's equipment heist, but I have a different reason than most of the community.
Oh,
I'm thinking forward into the future. Like Nick was saying, it's just a problematic card. I mean, we changed the unique rule to account for it, and in my opinion, that's just not good design. I think Massive Mute Machine is fine in a world without equipment heist, instead of the vice versa that a lot of people seem to be experiencing.
that makes sense. I mean, there is the King of Fighters character. I think it's Mind Tenken, who you can have some fun with Massive Machine because you can play it and then build it in, but you're not building one in every single turn like you are with Equipment Heist. But I do agree it poses an issue for design, similar to how Jiro in My Hero Academia Set 1 did. You can't, at the minute, they can't print powerful assets because Equipment Heist gets to have a lot of fun with them, and because it's an attune symbol, any character with the evil symbol gets to abuse any asset on their symbols.
Yeah, for sure. Like, even just talking past standard right now, which I know isn't the main topic,
Yeah.
in heroic especially, Dark Shadow Talon exists, and that's just not an okay thing. Um, like my plan for Worlds is DJ Shadow Talon heist and just ruining people's day just so it gets touched if it doesn't get touched before then.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I mean, in the world where if we get a water evil character, being able to put equipment heist from your discard into your card pool with ocean buddies seems like an unfun time. There's more and more ways to cheat out equipment heist, and being a 5-hander isn't the limitation it used to be, especially when you have so much draw on face and so much draw on power. But speaking of King of Fighters, the new challenge, the new champion cards, do we think they're big enough of an impact to what the current meta is to really shake it?
I'll let Nick go first.
I think Nick's looking it all
Um,
up in a minute.
I'm just making sure I'm grabbing all the character cards here, so I have all 6 of them. I would say that like as I look through the decks and everything, there's the 2 challenger releases here.
Mhm.
I would say that the characters themselves are very cool. I really like Benimaru. Shunye is really fantastic, honestly, as well. And there's lots of really good cards in the releases themselves. I don't think any of the characters, however, are going to be like making too much of an impact, but I could see like certain cards in the sets doing so. There's a card called Hadir, which I talked about with Jake Hyatt recently, and that card is just like it's insane. It's just Value City USA and or worldwide or maybe USA these days only. And it's just like fantastic. It's just a great card all around. It's a great ability, great effect, great stats. I think people will play cards like that. I think there's a lot of cards in the set that, or not, maybe not a lot, a couple cards in the set that could do it, but realistically, I don't think any characters are gonna really sneak through at Worlds this year. I think it's kind of too close, and people are already kind of locking in who they want to play.
That's fair. I mean, my Tenkun has been a sleeping card in the meta because that form going first is really powerful because your character's committed, so you play Foundation and you kind of get to your mirror going first, got a cut, play it, build down. Now I have a resource to take more risky plays. And in a meta where 0 diff foundations are becoming more and more scarce, a character who can get access to resources very quickly is very powerful, even in a 5-hander. But yeah, when we got the cards to preview, idea immediately went to me is if you can hold this and you can get it in your card pool to say block a goblin area bolt, you just get to shut down equipment heists so easily.
Mm-hmm.
But the main issue is, like I said, with defense is you need to have this in your hand and have momentum against an equipment heist deck, and everything kind of needs to line up perfectly.
Yeah, if you can get the stars align, I think you're unstoppable at that time. We like to say you're in Christmas land at that point. It's all presents and all gifts from there on out.
How about Jacob Johnson and Ashley Fuller?
Ashley
And Mark Tyner.
I've
I
tested
keep forgetting.
Ashley.
I keep forgetting about Mark Tyner. That's a very powerful character.
Okay. I'm gonna start with Ashley and then go to my feelings on Mark Tyner. Ashley, I think is really powerful. I think she's peak adjacent, but she has the water symbol and Breakin' and City Rampage. For anyone who doesn't know, I played in the Webcam Wednesday this past Wednesday, hosted by Undefeated at Locals, and played Ashley Rampage and went 2-1, almost 3-0
Yeah.
because the deck just presents so much offense and builds so many foundations. And then as far as Mark Tyner, I think he's getting an errata next month. A hard check hack has very rarely, if ever, been done before, I believe. So it existing, even on a character card, is, I think, too much. But I also think it would be okay if he didn't get touched, if that makes sense.
So hard check hacks used to be a lot rarer. Pre AOT, I'd say everything kind of said this does not end your turn. Post Battle for Humanity, checks that said to play your next card or to play your next attack kind of went away. Minus kind of, we've got a hard check hack in Moopsy that says commit your rival's next check gets -1. It's kind of weird. The big issue with Mark Tyner is your opponent doesn't get the options. So like when I go Moopsy -1, they can go, cool, I'll use a foundation that forces me to make a check, or I'll play an action, or I go, Mark Tyner just gets to go, oh, cool, you checked a 3 on that attack. Let's make that a 1. You go, oh, your turn's over. It's like, but yeah, so I think Mark Tyner does need that errata because that's an absolute menace to have going off.
Absolutely.
I hadn't thought about
Tyner.
breaking City Rampage Ashley. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tyner basically gets to say Breaker 2 on every unique card that the deck plays, and has evil, so has access to lots of really fun like Breaker type abilities. All I believe you get the solo leveling, commit for Breaker 1, and so you're really just kind of creating a situation to where all the other cards up until this point have kind of played fair, where it doesn't end your combat phase, but now Mark Tyner says, "Yeah, you're absolutely done." If you try to play more attacks after a barrier shield or something.
Yeah, there was. I don't know if you guys ever gunslinged against Shane Duckworth when he was part of the company, but his character card did something very similar, and all he did was pack his character full of breaker and high difficulty attacks, and went, cool, I can't fail these checks, and I'm going to make you fail everything. And that was an absolute nightmare to play against.
Doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, no.
Shay also comes from like the old legacy days of UFS, when there was like check hacks everywhere for some awful reason. Like the game was at its absolute worst. The game was like you would get hacked going on your first turn trying to build. You get hacked. Then you'd probably get like everything blown up. And you get hacked some more. And Shane was a part of all of that. So of course that's what he was doing.
So you both said that you feel the meta is fine. Why do you feel so like there's so many people taking to Facebook and Reddit and like Discord and basically saying that this current meta is putting them off Worlds, or just they don't feel like they can even try because the meta is so suffocating.
I have opinions, but I want to hear what Nick says first.
Okay. I think that this meta is fine in the sense that there's kind of a couple different good options at the top for where we don't really know what is going to win. We don't know what's going to win Worlds. I don't think anybody can make that prediction right now as to what it's going to be because I think there's just too many options out there. However, I can see why people are bored with it because I think we've been doing this for a long time now, and it's kind of a lot of more of the same. I can see people not, enjoying that. But the other thing on top of it um, would be that just kind of like there's there's no I don't really know how I'm trying to say this here. People are obviously getting bored with it, and that's going to happen. But also at the same time, it's kind of like once you hit this apron, so to speak, of like the top maybe like 10, 12 characters, the options are kind of out the window for people who want to play like fun stuff or they're like a pet. Like obviously you shouldn't take a pet deck to Worlds, but if you want to play a specific character, you should have some kind of incentive to play like that character and feel like you have a shot of at least making top cut with your character. And I don't feel like a lot of people have that after like the top 10.
That
So,
makes no sense. I mean, yeah, what kind of madman would take a pet deck to Worlds repeatedly? That seems like a bad idea.
yeah, terrible.
But yes, Simon, you had some opinions you wanted to share.
So, speaking to that Facebook group specifically, it's always been full of I'm quitting the game because of X reason. So it's hard to look at it and blame it on the world situation, like the format. But also, I think there's not enough experimentation, if that makes sense. Um, Not to like toot my own horn, but I took Bridget to Buffalo, made top 32, and felt comfortable into everything. Like my Deku matchups were 10 to 1. The hardest matchup was probably Rodon, and those were my losses. And then to the Goat Keenan Meadows on Pumat Soul. Um, yeah, no, it was crazy. Um, but I think there's not enough experimentation, and there's oh well, I lost to the big deck once. I'll shelf this and not touch it anymore. Instead of focusing on okay, well, how do I beat the big deck in the format? Like Marvin, my team captain, told me he was like, "Don't focus on making your 30% victories into 50s. Make 50% victories into 80s."
That makes no sense. I mean, I took Sun Jin Woo because he was legal, and I wanted to have fun. I hadn't been able to experiment with it because the cards were delayed, and I had an absolute blast at Glasgow. And I think not to put the blame on the players, but I think you're right with this, Siren. People are so concerned with wanting their deck to do what they want it to do, they don't consider stopping what their opponent is trying to do. They're so worried about their win condition that they try to overcompensate their win condition over their loss conditions. And if people built better, built smarter, anticipated and used the answers like Filled with Doubt and Forcing Surrender, uh, Awakened Samurai, like, no, not Awakened Samurai. What was the card that you mentioned that had water from Guilty Gear?
Scales of Juno.
Scales of Juno. If you use these cards, you can combat the meta. And because of attunement, they're a lot more wildly available. And for me, I don't see unyielding destruction as an issue. I see unyielding destruction as a solution to the fact we have this poor deadlock at the minute. People are so comfortable building to 15, 20 foundations. I'm like, how do I get through this wall? Oh, I destroyed the wall.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm actually, depending on what deck I end up taking to Worlds, we'll be picking up Unyieldings for the sideboard.
When people were talking about Infinity Symbol, and I was one of the people saying the Infinity Symbol is meant to be the great equalizer. It's meant to give every symbol answers to what's going on. And Unyielding is the biggest answer to people overbuilding. we don't have we still have Val season and stuff. When's the last time you saw Val season actually getting played? People are not prioritizing deadlock as much anymore, and unyielding destruction gets to punish them for that.
Yeah, I think it's a perfectly reasonable card in my opinion, but I think that it's even as a 4 of, it's a card that you have to draw at the right time of when you want to play it, because it's still just a slow attack sometimes, and all sorts of other things go into it. But I agree.
Yeah, no, exactly that. Like we were talking, you have to have the answer. You have to have the unyielding for them to need the answer too.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. It's similar to when you're playing with Bridget. Bridget can pop off very quickly. I've played a Bridget deck where I dealt 32 damage on turn 2 because looping battle or release is very silly. But at the same time, there are answers to that. Your opponent can kick things from your card pool, they can check hack you, they can break you. It's about anticipation, it's about leveling up your gameplay from this is what my deck is trying to do, and solo focusing that one idea and going, this is what my deck's trying to do, but what can this is as slim as I can get. This is as mechanically easy to pop off with my win condition, but here's my weaknesses. Here's where I am liable. I might not have answers to equipment heist. I might not be able to deal with long stringers like Mikasa and stuff like that. So it's like, cool. What cards exist for me? How can I clog their card pool? How can I manipulate their checks? How can I steal their attacks? How can I stop them from ruining my game? And that is where I think a lot of players in this game kind of start to hit the wall of their skill levels, because they want this game to do everything for them, and they don't want to progress their skills to the point where it's now going, I need my deck to have these answers and not rely on the company to spoon feed me these answers.
Yeah, exactly that. I don't know if you care. Do I just say something about my deck from Buffalo?
If you want, go for it. It's a
Go ahead.
this is a nice
Just like-
casual chat about the meta.
Okay. For anyone who wants to look at how to both have offense and defense into one deck, please just go look at my list from Buffalo. I managed to play 60 cards exactly and fit 20 pieces of defense while having solid offense. Most of the time, if you have the defense, you can either find the offense pieces, or you'll find the offense pieces and the defense can turn into both an offense defense piece like Aaron's sidestep. There were amount of times where Rodon put me to 1 speed and I was like, okay, well, flip Aaron's sidestep, you're full blocking it, I'll get to draw a card. Or it pushes them to make the half block, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to look at a deck that did both of those things, my top 32 list is on UVS Ultra. It's the only Bridget list in top 32. So
But that also sounds like you as a player came up with creative solutions on the fly. So Rodan put you to a low speed going, cool, I'm going to punish you if you completely block this. Or going, okay, I need to overtax my opponent's mental load. I need them to be so worried about what I'm doing, they stop focusing on what they're doing. You force them to become proactive you force them to be reactive rather than proactive. And I think that's where, again, a lot of players start to struggle, is once they get locked into this reactive play style during a game, they forget that they also need to be proactive. They get so worried about what their opponent's doing that they stop focusing on what they need to do to win.
yeah, absolutely. I will always say go into a regional with the expectation of I will play to my very best ability and I'll make top cuts. Never go into a regional thinking you're going to do poorly because of one bad matchup. And also, just like I said earlier, innovate. I was really shocked to see I was the only City Rampage Bridget at Buffalo. So people were like focused on the heavy D ability, even with the Bridget errata, instead of just seeing, okay, well, now she can just play good universes instead of, stone raining people for days.
Mhm.
Not to like toot my own horn, but it reminds me of a similar situation a couple of years back in the 2023 Nationals, when like repeating 100% Smash was everywhere. Everyone was playing it on Eraserhead, and I'm sat there with Midnight One going, Midnight One gives this 4 speed on face, and then I get to ready the foundation I did it with. That's just insane. And like, if you can cultivate good, consistent universes and with good, consistent interactions, you can have a very powerful deck. And the big thing about Bridget and these other decks that aren't as I don't want to say smooth brain, but are more linear, is that the key thing is reps and understanding your matchups. To if you want to take on a Devil Jin or a Mikasa, but you're playing these tricky decks, one of my biggest suggestions I've given to people that have reached out to me is play those decks, play Devil Jin, play Mikasa, see what it feels like to play that card. Know what your opponent's looking for. Know if when it's the right time. By playing the deck, you can understand them a lot more than playing like 5 games against them.
Yeah, even if you can't like play the deck yourself too, I think there's a lot of good content creators in our community who post a lot of gameplay, footage that you can kind of break down. And even if you're not able to, fully mentally kind of lock in on something like that, you can watch like a Chris Smith video of him, playing and kind of pause it and just kind of put yourself in the scenario. Okay, well, what would I do if this would be my third card I'm playing now? This is what I had in my hand, and I was able to kind of see the read, put yourself in those shoes a little bit there because that ultimately makes you a better player. I mean, I wouldn't play Water Bridget to save my life because I am extremely smooth brain aggro or weird stuff completely, and so it just wouldn't work for me completely. I think that's like a good combination of being a player who understands the meta and understands what's going to be coming and what's going to be what people will have answers for, what to expect, but then also just being like a good player of like strategy and just understanding itself too. I think Universus does a good job of like kind of yanking that out of somebody and like saying like, hey, you're actually good at this. Here's a bunch of numbers to figure it out. And when you do see people figure it out, you end up seeing people like, do very well with characters who aren't very randomly meta. I play Sir Night Eye a lot, and I've never taken him to a regional, but I would imagine I'd be able to top 32 or top 16 with him because he's nuts, in my opinion, and I've just lost so many times at locals just getting the hang of it. So sometimes you just got to do that.
Yeah,
But I applaud anybody who's playing weird stuff. That's the point of the game, in my opinion.
there will always
Yeah,
be pet
absolutely.
decks that do really well. There are people that, like myself, like I became a figure in this community because I played like 200 games with Dabby One, and then started topping events with him. And people are like, the hell's going on? It's like, yeah, I just because I kind of just sat here, and it was more like when the webcam scene was a lot more active, that I was able to kind of sit in my computer when I had nothing else to do, or like when my little boy was ill, I would like jump on there like playing while I was staying up with him, and I just start jamming games. And I've always been one of those people that is like a rogue deck with like 1,000 games that knows how to handle its meta matchups is terrifying. Clint on Edge
Headshot.
absolutely dominated me at Worlds, and I could do anything against that deck. It was like so refined. He knew how to play it. I was on Aaron Jaeger 1 or 2, so I was playing like a complete fringe deck. But he had it didn't phase him at all. He had that deck down to a fine tuned machine, and if you're playing a pet deck, a rogue deck, that you need the reps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Reps are what will make or break any performance in general, even with the best decks, but especially with pet decks. And again, like it's just taking losses as a lesson more than anything. I think that's the big thing is people look at a loss as well. You just checked well. You just did this. You just did that. I checked terribly, right? Um,
Yeah, I mean,
instead of saying, yeah,
I'm going to let you finish.
I was gonna say just instead of saying like, well, here's how I could have done this better.
Well, one of the big things a lot of people need to remember this game is luck is a part of it. Luck is a huge aspect. RNG may be on our side. We may be one of the most consistent card games out there. We may be able to see our one-offs more consistently than, say, Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic or any other card game that puts a one-off in their decks because of how many cards we're drawing, because of how quickly we fill our decks. We have such good resource management and use of our resources and like consistency. But sometimes you go in for an attack and you check 4 3s in a row. It happens, and being able to utilize that and be able to create your own look and mitigate that. But sometimes, like what happened to me on TTS last week, you come across a Mikasa who's going first, who builds 5 and then draws 5 attack cards and goes, "Cool, you're dead."
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
luck.
Luck swings both ways.
Yeah.
My little.
I think
Well,
I was gonna say I think that in card games in general, I think that you have to really adapt this mentality of you not you win or you lose. It's whether you win or you learn. And realistically, you should learn in both scenarios. Like what won me that game? What did I do last turn to set this up? What did my opponent do last turn to take the win? It's you have to just kind of like glean as much knowledge as you can. And I feel like if you're going to like worlds, like now we let to kind of circle back to the worlds meta here. If you're going to worlds, you know what's going to be out there now. There's no
Yeah.
excuse anymore as to what you'll be facing because everybody has a good handle of what the power offense is, what the power defense is, who are the top characters. Now and now if you feel good enough about playing something crazy and out there, I feel like you can study up now. Start cracking TTS and webcam and get some games under your belt, not wins, not losses, just games.
yeah.
And I think you'll do well.
I mean, one of the things that I do see teams doing, and I imagine it's something that undefeated locals, Let's Talk UVS, the other teams do, and it's something that when people asking me for help with decks and gameplay, it's one of the things that when you're playing the game, when you can have someone spectate and have them just focus on how you're playing and have them don't say anything, just let you play your game, and then at the end go, okay, and then start asking you questions like, oh, why did you play a risky attack? Why do you try and get into your head and go for that and try and like help you understand where you're testing your luck or where you might be making a mistake, like going, like if you're going up against Mikasa and you go, why did you only hold mid attacks? You know this deck from reading deck list plays primarily highs and lows. You're setting yourself up to take a lot of damage. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I need to be aware of this, other things like that. Against Devil Jin, it's like, why did you keep holding these high difficulty block zones? Because you know that the attacks are going to be coming, but they're going to be coming slow. But there's so many of them that you're going to be playing with a lot of progressive. If you can keep a lot of low block zones, you can do a lot. But even half blocking is trying to like identify where you can improve, and by playing games and having the chats, you kind of level up your understanding. I've been meaning for absolute ages to make a video on like how to become a more professional gamer, and it boils down to 3 things: knowledge of interactions, knowledge of cards, knowledge of the game, reps, getting the gameplay in, getting your skills up, getting so. I don't know if either you are Dragon Ball Z fans, but it's the Cell Saga when Gohan and Goku go into the time chamber and
hyperbolic time chamber, baby.
Trunks and Vegeta go in there. They focus on getting as much power as they can, whereas Goten and Goku try to focus on getting comfortable with the most power they have at the moment. And that's where I kind of sit going, you can try and push your deck to be the most brutal it is, but it may become a glass cannon. But if you can get your deck to be the most consistent it is at a high power level, that's going to be stronger. And then the third thing is you need luck. No matter what, you need luck.
Mm-hmm.
The best players in this game, from Kevin Broberg to Garrett Brett, have had bad games because luck just said no.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's how you guys feel about it. How do you guys like prepare for Worlds?
Go ahead.
Um, my preparation for Worlds has mainly just been like labbing out stuff so far. I haven't really hit playtesting stage. Like right now, we're looking at Bridget Rampage still and Isla on Void because I think that character is actually insane and people are just sleeping on her. Um, but like I think the biggest thing to prep for Worlds is a mindset. I think that's the number one thing is just like going in with a good mindset and then getting the reps in. Looking at your matchups that are solid matchups. Which I guess going back to Buffalo again, I hate to go back to it, but
Yeah, keep going back to this
prepping
man.
for
Oh, good.
Buffalo, it was okay. Well, I tested into every meta deck and I saw okay. Well, I have an easy time into DJ and Mikasa because I can chain block, I can scales with Juno, that stuff. I have a good matchup into Hanji because I can push the gas before they can build up their wall, and I have a good matchup into Deku for the same reason. So we'll side to make those matchups even better. If I run into the Rodon and I just hit the wall, it is what it is. That's what happens. Um, And I mean, that's what I did. I just didn't really I tested into Rodon, obviously, but I didn't
Yeah.
dedicate a ton of my time into specifically Rodon. I wanted to get good at the matchups I knew the deck had a good time into.
And it's perfectly fine to have a bad matchup and go, if I run into a Rodan, I'm going to struggle. But it's also good to get into your head that just because it's a tough matchup doesn't mean it's an unwinnable matchup. I don't think
Mhm.
there is such a thing in this game because of how the game is played and how the game interacts. There is such a thing as an unwinnable matchup outside of maybe retro where there are some unwinnable matchups.
I would agree. I would definitely agree. I also think that a lot of people get really discouraged when they build a deck because, like, I'll see it in the Discord sometimes, or other groups. Somebody will post a deck list and they'll be like, "Oh, this just loses to whatever character. This loses to Falco," and then they're just like, oh, "Okay," and they scrap the whole idea. And it's like it's okay to have an uphill climb. You never know when the Falco is going to check 4 threes in a row. You just never know when that's going to happen. And if you're prepared and you're in the right mindset, like Sion was saying, you have to be in the right mindset to play all these rounds ago. And if you're in the right mindset, you're ready to pounce on somebody, then you'll be prepared for it. What do you do after an unyielding destruction? You keep playing. That's what you do. You don't. It resolved. All right, game two. Like that's not how any of it
Yeah.
works. You continue playing and you do your best and you knock things out of the park.
I probably need to be more active in the Discord, but when I'm chatting with people on like Discord DMs or through YouTube, because I'm one of those people that's now started uploading gameplay myself, and I get a lot of people going, "Oh, you messed up here," or "Something went wrong here," or like "There's a more optimal line here." It's like, cool. I'd love to see this because this is going to help me get better. But
Hmm.
the big thing, when people say to me like, "Oh, I'm losing this matchup," or "My deck's not working," and I'm like, cool. But it's like the first question I was asking is why? Why are you losing this matchup? Why isn't your deck working? What is it you wanted to do that your deck's not doing? Then we look at the deck and go, well, why are you running this? This doesn't like. It's more. I don't want to be the person telling people how to build their decks. I want them to
Hmm.
understand what their deck is supposed to be doing and letting them grow. I mean, listen, no shade to any other content creator out there, but there's a lot of people like when you get there will go, you should be running this or you should be doing that. It's like kids are like, no, I want to know why. And one of the big ones I get is like I go, why are you not running Botan's coaching? It's like, I can't get hold of them. Perfectly reasonable response.
Yeah, yeah. Test all you want. If you don't have them, you don't have them.
Yeah, it's like, oh, cool. I'm playing retro. It's like, cool. I tested with 4 Trinity guys. Do you know how I can get hold of them? Ah, yeah. About that.
Yeah, good luck to you.
You got spare
I
grounds? I
I think
think Rochester still got them.
I think like one thing to kind of to add on to your point there is that I feel like there's a lot of content career and I myself I don't make a lot of content career. I have a part of Rival Stage Gaming and we have the most inconsistent upload schedule and the content may be very shallow at times. I'll say that, but I feel like there's a lot of people who will be like, "Hey, here's the deck you can play," and they don't really explain the nuances well enough. And I feel like that can sometimes be more harmful to a new player or somebody who's kind of returning because they want to play heroic or something. That might be a little bit more harmful sometimes. The Jake Hyatt from Nomu Shake recently put out a video about his Rodon that he got third place with at Buffalo.
Oh,
And the video is like an hour long, but it goes through like every single card, every single interaction. And then it goes through like what defensive thing, why you're doing, why you're playing this card. And then this is what my sideboard was. This is what my maybe board was. This is what I'm going to change because after experiencing this, this is a dead card and stuff. And I feel like that's important for players to know, and kind of like dive into. So I feel like, yeah, that's a call to all content creators, myself included, to just explain the nuance a little bit more. You know,
uh,
that's where it all comes through.
so I agree in principle, but an hour
Mhm.
for like a 40-minute hour long video, you're going to struggle to like for new players and stuff like you're going to struggle.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So what I've started doing with my deck list, and when I don't do it, people start reaching out going, "Can you please put this back?" Is
Mhm,
I'm trying to keep my deck list like 20 minutes because you know
mhm,
we're gamers, we don't have attention spans. But what I'm doing is I'm putting the gameplay in the deck list. So I'll go for like my Bridget deck list. I'll go, oh, I want to string out my attacks. I want to be able to go uh, battle or release into a battle or release into a fillet fling. Pick up the battle or release. Uh, play like then just like string out as long as I can, and then finish with a loop de loop, and then I'll
mhm,
cut to a TTS game or webcam game I've played with someone showing me doing that. So rather than me sitting there explaining, I'll go, "This is what I want to do," and then it cuts to gameplay of me doing it,
mhm.
so people can visually see and visually understand as I'm explaining in the gameplay what I'm doing. And then I just cut back to me going, "Okay," and then we'll move on to the next interaction and go for that because rather than sitting there for 5 minutes explaining what I just did in that game, I can
Sure.
physically I can show them.
Yeah, it's not out for everyone, obviously, cutting an hour-long video. It's crazy, but I feel like if you can, no matter how you do it, whether you do it through a full explanation or you do it yourself with like a visual gameplay loop, which I think is incredible for everyone to actually just see the interaction, the checks being made, and everything. No matter how you're doing, I think it's just important for everyone to try and communicate that the reading in between the lines as to why things work because it's I think any newer player will eventually pick up like, oh, okay, big damage, big speed,
Yeah,
great, big damage, big speed. But it's like, how did we get to this point to where we could safely do that? You know, that's where I think the
yeah.
the finesse comes in.
One of my most viewed videos is the beginner's deck video I did, and it constantly keeps going up. And like every new set, I change the thumbnail to match the set because
Mhm,
it's like an hour long, and it's just a bare bones basic beginner's deck builder explaining everything from symbols and attuned to
mhm.
why you need to have defense in your deck, why you need to have offense in your deck, and kind of and for a YouTube video like being at 3K views isn't much, but for a Universus
Oh
video,
yeah,
that's a lot.
that's numbers.
How about yourself, Blame Siren? How do you feel? Kind of like we've really got off meta health here. We're now just talking about new player deck building.
Um, so I did the same thing. I made one video, not changed it multiple times, but I did make a video on deck building. And I think from the reception I got, it was a very good thing because I went into depth on my choices. I chose to do Mikasa 4 death weapons and like explain, we're playing this because it has the block mods, so we can reveal it for a bunch of damage. But even going to like the discords, like just talk about what your deck's doing. Like, I played Nathan DeWalt at Buffalo, and we sat down and he talked to me about it. He was like, "Yeah, you can do the Flip City Rampage for +2 speed and then send it to momentum." And I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of a big part of the deck." And so just chatting with people and like explaining it, um, showing them what the cards do. Whenever I do deck profiles, I do like show combos
Hmm.
actively with the cards. I'll go play this, play that, do that, and then it does this thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, you
Um,
can sit there, you can talk about potential combos, like Nathan said, you can flip the city rampage and put it to your momentum. You can also flip it, play a play fling, put it back in your hand, and get ready to play it again next turn.
exactly. Um, and that was something he had shown me after. Um, but no, like people are visual learners, especially with card games. Especially like I myself, if you tell me words, I will not understand you. But if you show me what you're doing, I'll be able to actually understand and give like input on it.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just a show and tell, don't just tell.
Yeah, it's something we were talking about like before the stream. It really annoys me when people say reading the card explains the card, because no, that reading the card doesn't always explain how that card interacts with other things. Reading Equipment Heist does not explain how brutal it is with Massive Mutant Machine.
Yeah, exactly. Like Heist is a great example that I hadn't thought of. But even in like again, going back to my Bridget list, the city rampage, but also the dust attack into ice sword executions or dust attack into smashing stomp, right? Dust attack is a low, smashing stomp's a low. So we go dust attack into the smashing stomp to kind of bait out their low block and then do smashing stomp stuff.
Yeah,
Um, that's something you don't automatically see just seeing two low attacks, right?
Hmm.
It's something you have to know and like get told or have been the one to build it usually.
yeah, it kind of goes back to what we were saying before, getting the reps in, getting used to it, be able to understand that lows are one of the most unheld kind of block zones. When people are building decks, they kind of always forget lows are a thing. So be able to go, in just any case, if your opponent's holding two cards in hand and you've got two low blocks, you have to play the odds of, what are the odds both of those are low? And like saying, just attack where it goes, you need to block this, or my next one is essentially coming in with for free. It's like, oh yeah, cool. So I need to block this thing. Go, cool. Here's my Black Abyss, my Heat Ray, my Smashing Stomp, my big one, because you even need to have a second low, or you're going to take numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like you can also understand that a little bit too if you game plan a matchup. Where if it's like a new player wouldn't understand, where it's like, hey, here's two cards that are made irrelevant. But if you're like, hey, you're gonna play this kind of deck here, and it's such and such as they've got like walk the dog is like their main killer. They're not gonna realize why these low block cards are suddenly so good. They're just gonna see two cards, no matter what they are, that just happen to have low blocks. Where the rest of us are like, oh, it's a +0 on this,
Yeah.
So there's so much goes to it.
A new
Which
player's
is why,
never,
yeah.
yeah, a new player's never
Yeah,
going
go
to
ahead.
understand the excitement whenever they reveal another low breaker block.
Yeah.
But one of the things we haven't addressed in the meta, and especially for the world meta, because it's something I got some flack for last year, but is the meta currently fun? Last year, I played at Worlds, and myself and Nick Reagan and a couple of people, we ended up dropping from day one of Worlds because we just weren't having fun. And as much as some people may not like when people do that, if you're not having fun, no matter the level of tournament it is, feel free to drop. But I think one of the things that people don't like about the current meta is they're not having fun in these games.
Yeah, I personally think it comes down to how fast paced of a game you want to play
Hmm.
versus how fast or slow your meta game matchup is. And I feel like there are instances where you can be put in a spot where you're playing a very unfun game and you are possibly creating a negative play experience for the person across the table for you because you have to know what you have to do to win or your opponent is creating the bad game state. And I think that's a legitimate worry for a lot of people, especially if you're not like a real grind, like not a super serious grinder, like you're just going to worlds for going to worlds and having fun and stuff. Like that, you might get caught off guard with a lot of stuff like that. So that would, I don't know. I think it's fun, but like I said earlier, I think it's kind of old news to a lot of people. And if you're winning, winning is fun. Like, unfortunately, no matter what, if you go to Worlds and you're like 5-0, like, you're going to be doing great. You're going to be enjoying everything. But if you're not that type of person who can knock out a 5-0 run or something like that, then I definitely can see qualms to where this meta wouldn't be from be fun. I think it all just it depends on your level of like serious investment.
Uh, to go to your favorite example, Saren, how fun was Buffalo for you? Because you said you had great matchups into Mikasa and Devil Jin, but if you came across them, was it at least fun when you were playing them?
Yeah. Um, my favorite part about the matchups was figuring out the puzzle. Now, I will say I have a bias. I cannot play this game for more than like 20 minutes at a time before I have to get up and move around. So I am so down to be done in like 20 minutes with the whole round.
You got those
Uh,
ADHD shakes.
yeah, like I tell my friends all the time, I'm like, if I could play control, y'all would be screwed, but I can't sit down that long. But no, I had fun every match. Now granted, I only played into one DJ, one Mikasa for the entire weekend across both standard format and teams. But even then, I was having fun into the Rodons and the DJs. My one DJ match was okay, cool. I'll loop Flayflings for the whole turn and just not die from that. And it was a super fun time. Um, and like I've tested this Isla deck into Mikasa 4 and being able to just flip all their rebuilds or flip all their draw cards on my turn and then say, okay, go without a board. Has been a blast.
But like when you went up against Kingdom Meadows with the massive mutant machine equipment heist, pretty much soul kind of thing, or it isn't the most fun when you kind of just sat there watching your opponent play solitaire, going, "Here's 5/5 on everything."
Um, so it never was solitaire in that instance, but I can see how playing into solitaire it's not fun. There was a lot of back and forth between me and Keenan. Um, okay, I'll use this enhance, I'll use this enhance. It was a lot of like, okay, well, if I do this, then he can do that, and so on and so forth. Um, so I've never experienced the solitaire games that people do. And maybe that's because I'm so focused on, okay, well, they'll do this. I need to have this. I have this ready for that, so on and so forth. Like Skills of Juno into those matchups was okay, well, if they camo counter response, I'll Skills of Juno cancel it, stays in the card pool, and they don't get the check bonus. So I need to watch for that, make sure this stays ready through the stuns or whatever.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm kind of the opposite. Once I get locked into a game, I lose track of time. I played a 90-minute game one of Sunjin Wu Assassin versus Caduceus Clay, and no attacks were getting through. Like it, it was. How I would say is it was fun, but it was boring because Caduceus played backups. I attacked the backups for effects. We carried on that thing until I went. I hit critical mass like 25 foundations. I had 6 cards left in my deck, and I'm like, I need to kill you or die on deck out. It's like, it's fun, but if this was the regionals, this would be really boring.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I do think a part of it is making the experience fun for your opponent. I'm not saying that it is a requirement or your duty to make your
No,
opponent have fun during the game, but make it a fun time. Enjoy, share laughs, right?
yeah, I mean, like you said with the Keenan Meadows example, even if it was solitaire, you're playing against Keenan Meadows, possibly one of the nicest people in this game. Even if he is beating you in the face with a baseball bat, he's going to be having a nice chat with you while he does it. I played against Andrew Porat's Ghidorah deck. He won with Albuquerque. We had an absolutely amazing time. I ended up losing, but that entire hour was just an absolute riot and laugh. And having the right opponent, having an opponent that's having fun, can be a big thing. I think you've kind of hit one of the big nails on the head there. If you come across an opponent that's upset or angry or tilted, it can skew your gameplay as well.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Finally not going to Buffalo and going back to Atlanta instead.
Ooh.
Um, I played Garrett Brett in round 8. I
Oh
had
my
no idea
god.
who he was until after the regional, like the next day. It never hit my mind, but I had the time of my life playing Leatherhead into his Zeke Yeager War Chief. Not because that's a fun matchup, but because we just kept talking and he was talking about how much how neat my deck was because I was just stuffing his card pool full of cards.
He's so nice. He brings board games. I think we played some board games at Albuquerque. We played board games at Worlds. He just brings other games for you to play as well. It's so much fun. He's such a nice guy. And the moment he starts taking this game seriously again, we're all screwed.
Agreed.
I fully believe that.
Agreed.
Do you know how many characters he has, Simon?
I think 8 now.
It's at least 6 because the reason his new character has 2 symbols is because he got enough characters with 3 symbols to have all the symbols. So he wanted to do it again with 2 symbols.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, that's disgusting. I love Garrett too, and that is such a Garrett thing that he would want. That's his new goal. Yeah, just get another round of character cards.
Well, when I was doing my talking about regionals pricing, I was like, Garrett Brett needs to win a regionals and get his different artworks put on the 9 titans throughout the ages.
Does that mean we get it unbanned though?
No. But yeah, it's kind of just become more of a talk about the game around Worlds.
Yeah.
Because this Worlds is a little bit different than the other ones we've had before. The first the first new world we had was 32 invite. Then the second worlds we had was 32 invite, but there was last chance qualifier. Then we had 64 invite, and this year we've got 71 places if everyone shows up, with the 16 last chance qualifiers and the point earners. I don't think everyone's going to show up. I think it's probably going to be more on the 60-64 mark. But it's an interesting one. There's a lot more chances for day 1 world qualifiers to get into day 2. And I think a lot more people are going to be try-harding and sweaty and more focused on the win and the gameplay than we've ever seen before. And we are the nicest community in card gaming, but I think day 1 is going to be a stressful event.
I think so, and I personally hope so. I like competitiveness to a game. Like, don't get me wrong, this is like one of the best card game communities like ever made. And I've been a part of it for a long time. And I personally like Siren you are a much nicer person than I am because I play Decay Awakened Sir Night Eye at my locals, and my goal is to frustrate you. It is to get you tilted. It is to reset the board back to 0 and completely halt the game and just smile about it and go on with my life like nothing happened. But that's the game plan I'm willing to do, because I know if I could express that over 10 rounds, I could probably frustrate enough people into making bad decisions to allow me to win the game, and then I can make top cuts to that. So that's how my game plan is for it. And I sincerely hope. Go ahead. Sorry.
You don't scramble though, right?
Not in a scramble. No. We're talking like Worlds qualifier here, or like Worlds day 1, all stuff like that. Like, these are the level events. If you're going to a store scramble, that's when you play the fun, weird stuff. That's the whole point of the event, is to play the fun, weird stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're going to Worlds, if you're going to like the top level competitive event, I think whatever you play best, or whatever you're comfortable playing with, and whatever kind of fits into your personality as to what you would do. I used to say Shigaraki 1 was my favorite character when MHA1 came out, because it was just like so lowbrow and scumbaggy. It just like destroys something and it burns you. And it's just like just 2 awful ways to play the game. I love it. I love that kind of stuff. So if you got to embrace what you know, what you go with. Like Cyrus was saying, like, you don't want to be there for like more than 20, 30 minutes. You want to get up and walk around. I'm the exact same way. But for some reason I could lock in and try to go like, let's go to either a 60-minute game to where like you're frustrated, I can squeak out the win and we go to the next round, or let's play hyper aggro and get out of here in 15 minutes so we can enjoy 45 minutes to do whatever. So you just got to be comfortable with what you play with out there. And I honestly hope a last chance qualifier day one is a bloodbath. I
I
really want to see
mean,
what people are playing.
when I played at Glasgow, I hadn't really played the game in person since Albuquerque in May. So my mentality was I'm playing Sun Jimu because I paid for my seat. So I'm using all 1 hour of my seat. But no, so yeah, I've got like two
Well,
things.
can I just
Yeah,
say something on the back end of that? I do want to say though that like not to be a complete prick about everything. There are certain times like everything I think I do on the board, I think is fair. But if I was playing a deck that was creating like a negative play experience to where my opponent realistically couldn't get into it at all, or they just died to some like awful loop immediately and they had no way to prevent it or no way to deal with or anything, I think there's a negative play experience. You probably shouldn't play that just for the health of the game.
yeah,
But and you shouldn't play that against anybody who's even remotely new because my first game ever of playing UFS was against Control Hugo way back in the legacy days. And I don't know why I continued playing the game after that, but I did, and I'm glad I did. But that is just awful. So I try to stay away from like don't play negative play experiences. But if you got to play low brow, cut some corners. Okay,
yeah.
that's all.
Like the younger Takuro got the errata, and because
Hmm.
it created an unfun play experience. Bridget got the errata because the loop created a negative play experience.
Hmm.
So, two topics kind of I want to get over again about the world's meta and like the meta health. What are the solutions? Like we've talked about ways that you can counter it, but what would is there anything you would like to see touched? Is there anything that you would like to make the community aware of that is it like immediate answers? Like we've talked about scales of Juno, like that can immediately help with Mikasa and Devil Jin. What what are the answers? What cards or playstyles against Unyielding, against Equipment Heist, against Mikasa are kind of like a good universal standard?
So obviously heist, there's forcing surrender, there's co task, action hate, anything like that. But furthermore, it's knowing when to use it as far as that one goes.
Hmm.
Don't stopping for breakfast the form, obviously. Stopping for breakfast one of the enhances. Um, as far as Mikasa and DJ, yeah, it's pretty much only like Great Buckler and Scales of Juno. But also it's knowing how to play smart into those matchups. Don't get greedy and build out your whole hand. Unyielding destruction. I hate to be the person to say it, just suck it up and deal with it and continue playing the game.
I mean,
um,
I think at this
100%.
point, all three of us have just said unyielding destruction is a thing. It's a fair thing. It does the same thing to everyone. Stop fucking complaining about it and just deal with it.
yeah, no, like, okay, cool. I can swear on this.
Yeah, yeah, go for
Don't be
it.
a little bitch and just fucking deal with it. Um, but furthering that point, in a theoretical banless world, right?
Yeah,
They have to touch so many things that it becomes an issue. They would have to touch Unyielding, Mikasa, DJ to make the populace happy. But then we have the issue Rodon and Deku rise to the very top of the ladder.
yeah.
So then we have to hit Rodon and Deku. Okay, well, what's right under them, right? And it just keeps going into this scaling thing to where I think we're in one of the healthiest metas we've had all year, if not the healthiest meta we've had all year.
That makes a lot of sense. Like you said, if Mikasa and Noah Shin stop being the boogeymans and we get rid of things like Phil with Doubt and stuff like that, Rodan and especially Izuku Midori with the Guardian of Chinatown have so many tools and answers. Like if you try to tension a Deku, this go, yeah, Guardian of Chinatown, my attack is not getting reduced. Just die.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's just what it basically comes down to. Something I said before is a case of understand the cards, understand the interactions, play against them, play with them, and just build better. Now there is
I
what
I
go
I was gonna say, I personally, I would say like I haven't gone to any competitive events this year, unfortunately, because of just life and everything else going around. But I would say like just there's a lot of good cards out there that do really good things. Like Great Buckler is a fantastic card that you should play. Water, I agree with Sire Hunter, is a lot of really fun, great defensive tools. Like don't overlook symbols or anything like that. Just kind of be aware of what is going to be happening in matchup. As we said earlier, like it doesn't you can play the don't get rid of the heist form, get rid of the heist enhance. You got to play know when to shoot your bullets. You only have a couple of them, and it's going to be real important because if you miss any one of them, you're going to get run over. And I feel like a lot of decks do that, put you in a defensive spot like that. So you need to just be prepared.
We still,
There's nothing I'm going to say to anybody that they'll be like, oh wow, I didn't know that this card was great or anything. There's nothing I'm going to tell you that's
yeah,
fantastic. But Scales of Judo is a good card for a reason. People are talking about it for a reason. Listen, that's all.
we still have 2 months of Runaway, which stops Devil Jin being able to put Camel on top, adds more progression. It forces Mikasa to play more fairly by putting progression and getting negates the +4 on damage. It negates Massive Meat Machine and makes them play progressive. But it's a card that's kind of dropped off because it's older and it's also a lot harder to acquire. Now, there's one last thing I kind of wanted to touch on in terms of meta health and how prepared the meta is for it, because at Glasgow Regionals, I saw this tactic doing very well for other people, myself included, and I've not really seen anyone talking about it, but I don't think anyone's really prepared about it. Is anyone running throw hate?
I am.
Throw it. Not specifically, maybe on accident.
Faith Shield, and if I play it filled with doubt, is technically throw hate.
That's fair. But yeah, one of
Yeah,
my
filled, I guess.
Yeah, my Sun Wu strategy was get to level 4 and then play Grasping for Survival and Bear Bite and just throw them into the ground. And it helped me kill Devil Jins, it helped me kill Puman's Soul, it helped me do
Hmm.
really dumb stuff, but Lighty Doctors, yeah, we have got the new Guilty Gear foundation that said that flip when attacks played remove a keyword. So yeah, there is. I'm not saying there isn't throw hate out there, but I'm just wondering if people, apart from the water players who have answers to everything, are actually running throw hate.
Um, I think like people look at throws as something to not really care about, but also it's knowing every part of your card. Like you just said, Armorclad Faith is an option and it was
Yeah,
being played, but there's even instances where you can use that. Or no, it's only after your rival plays an attack.
yeah. So if two rival players attack.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
I was gonna say there's even like offensive ways you can handle that. Removing a keyword that maybe they give a specific thing to, like drowning in resentment. I know Tim Keefe was playing that at Atlanta because stun was everywhere
Hmm.
and it like reduces damage or speed or one of the two. If you could armorclad faith remove the stun on your own move, it deals with that, right? Looking at cards in a not a linear fashion, but a two-way fashion
Yeah,
instead of just looking at the face of the card. Like you said, reading the card does not always explain the
yeah.
card. There's hidden text in things like Aaron sidestep, like I was talking about.
No, Lighty Doctor, you are correct. The Jacob Hyatt's Rodan list is running 4 Mikasa defeats the female Titan and 4 Armored Clad Faith. That guy was more than set up to deal with throws. I probably came across it because, like I said, I played Sun Wu. I had a great time with playing the throws. And recently I tried a Tension Godzilla list where I was running Titan's Grasp, which is a 1 mid for 8 with a deadlock +5. And how like more likely people are going into deadlock, this was becoming like a 14 damage throw. And it's like, oh, it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm not going to Worlds. I don't get to play the most competitive games. I get to have just play a lot of fun, crazy games. Uh, One of the most recent games I played was June Kazuma versus Mikasa 1, and my opponent had a terrible time because uh, I was just stuffing my card pool with the Guilty Gear action that lets me heal when I block, and then Reborn Human, which lets me heal when an attack deals damage. So I was partial blocking and healing too every single time.
That's pretty gross. I can't lie.
Drowning was off with
Uh,
the
I
super ability. Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, Drowning is a very good card.
I looked through everything that's kind of like anti-throw hate, and honestly, the only things that I would be honestly playing specifically to deal with throws, if I needed to, would be Mikasa defeats the female Titan, which obviously is that. But I was playing countering toss in my Ymir build before I took it
Ooh,
apart. So
yeah,
there
that
you go.
Counting Toss.
Sometimes just throwing people to death is great, you know,
Yeah,
especially if they're a 7-hand sizer.
Counting Toss is on my list for my new series that starts tomorrow. But yeah, no, like I said, we've got Filled with Doubt, we've got Ironclad Faith, we've got damage resets with Moment of Normalcy, which makes throws usually start off quite low damage, and you have to pump them up. I'm sure there's enough answers out there. It was just something that came up the last time I was talking the meta, going, the meta doesn't really seem geared for throws, and I imagine only really the Bridgets, the Rodans, the squishy seven-handers are that bothered by them because Mikasa and Devil Jin are going, cool, hit me for 4. The chances are you're going to be dead before that matters.
Yeah, exactly. Just like resets, stuff you're already playing tends to hate on throws if it becomes an issue. It's just again knowing when to fire your bullets.
So what do
Dad,
you
I
go? I'll let you go.
I was gonna say I don't think anybody is particularly playing like an all throw game plan in the current like meta too. I just don't think there's like a build out there. I mean, somebody's gonna prove me wrong and be like, "Hey, Nick, you're an idiot. Here's like an all throw build," but I don't think anybody's doing that right now.
Oh, maybe not now, but maybe we'll see some cool Godzilla cards that might like all throws. Who knows?
Uh,
But moving on, just to like winding down, what do you expect to see at Worlds? Like, what are your top 5 Worlds picks for characters?
By going first here.
Sure. Take
Oh,
for a minute.
oh, geez. Top 5 characters for Worlds: Devil Jin, Rodan, Deku. I think would probably be my 3. And that's just from experience of like playing with people randomly. I would also say, God, you know, because number 5 has to be Sun Jin Woo, because that deck rules.
Very fun.
But oh, who would number? I honestly, it's so kind of like probably Krista. Like
Ooh,
that's a good choice, I know, but like also there's a million other choices you could make there. It's so like I think there's a good like 10 to 12 right now you could choose from. So, but those would probably be my 5 that I would go with.
makes no sense.
Yeah. So to clarify, is it what we expect to see the most like percentage of, or what makes top cuts?
What you expect to just if you want to, yeah, however you want to define it is up to you. I'm just working what you expect to kind of see Worlds. Like
Okay.
not the last chance qualifiers, like the day 2 Worlds. What do you think people are going to show up with?
Okay. So I think Mika Safor, DJ, Rodon, Deku are the obvious ones. And then I guess I'll cheat a little bit on my last one. I think it's going to be the insert pet character here deck that has been geared to handle these decks. Things like Benny Maru, things like Bridget. Somebody, myself, will probably bring Isla. There will be a Maiden Coon. There will be, all of those
You didn't even
um,
mention
in
Dolores.
that last slot.
Dolores is goat.
Dolores is really cool. I don't see the vision, but that's just me. I think somebody will bring a Shune. I think somebody will bring a Krista, like you were saying. I think the
Godzilla.
top 4 obvious. The 5th one is the wild card that like Barlow guess will bring something random. Broberg will probably bring something off the cuff. I'm bringing something off the cuff, I know. And some of my teammates are just bringing their favorite deck.
Yeah,
Um,
Hmm.
and I think
yeah,
that's the best advice to give someone who's going to Worlds, even if it's the last chance qualifier day 2. Don't put the pressure on yourself to have to. If you have fun playing Devil Jin, if you have fun playing Mikasa, then go for it. But if you're a player who does not have fun doing them and you're playing them because they're meta, you think they're going to win, but you don't find them fun, don't do it. Is my personal like statement. I have
Hmm.
never played a Worlds deck that was meta. I've never played a Worlds deck that I thought I was going to walk away and be completely undefeated. I played World deck that I had fun with and that I thought might get wins and would just be cool. I mean, I played Dabby 1 into Worlds, and day one I walked away with a 4-1 record against Eraserheads, OGO3, OGO2s. It was it was a manic time to be playing the game, and it's just really weird to know how well I did with that character. I'm very sentimental with it with the UVS post, like "Wish your most sentimental card." It's got me thinking about Dabby a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you actually go and look at the people who have won Worlds, none of them are playing the current meta deck. Nick Reagan on Endeavor 3, and then Broberg last year on Hanji.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
even back in 2022, everyone was playing OGO2 and Tokiyami, and people were bringing Eraserhead and Recovery Girl, and Broberg walked away with the win with a Midnight deck. It was a deck no one saw coming. I think that is the real spice of Worlds, is to have a deck that turns the game on its side, that turns the meta on its side, that goes, this is how the meta plays. My deck can counter that, but no, and in a way that no one's expecting.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, for sure.
I think someone put on Facebook or Discord that at the moment we have 25% of the cards that have ever been printed in standard. That's an insane amount. So, like, with all those cards out there, with all the resources we have available to us, we shouldn't be able to complain that we don't have the answers for things, because they should be out there.
Yeah, the card pool offers a lot in terms of offense, but it also offers a lot in terms of defense. So, you just double-edged sword.
Oh yeah, I mean Sam Tate, aka Ace Maneuvers, has been one of the biggest advocates that defense in this game is still absurd and it's still ridiculously powerful. It's just people are not focusing on what their opponents are doing; they're just focusing on what they're doing.
Hmm. Got to be able to jump those hurdles. If you can't jump a couple hurdles, then you got to
Yeah.
retool.
Yeah,
It,
as somebody whose Rodon matchup was decided by putting them on pressure, you got to be able to handle pressure from the aggro deck,
yeah,
Hmm.
and
and
it's
you can do it. You just have to think out of the box.
one of the best control players out there. Has 6 character cards, and people judge the way that you play control against Garrett Brett. And one of my favorite memories playing this game is coming out of nationals and having a message from Garrett Brett going, congrats on the tops, and congrats on learning controls." Like, if Garrett Brett says you've learned control, you've learned control.
Yeah, control is tough, and Garrett was a grinding through the worst of it back in the day. So yeah, he was a genius then. It doesn't surprise me now.
Now, there's a few players that do have fun at events, but I don't think they fully take the game seriously. The moment they start taking the game seriously and want the win, they're taking the win. Uh, I think unless you guys have got any other points you want to bring about the world's meta, I think we're kind of wrapped up.
Yeah, I have nothing. Don't sleep on Isla. I think just read it. Read the character card. She's really good.
Yeah,
Um. Oh. Yeah. Go ahead.
there you go.
Oh, I was just going to say that if you're a first time player going to Worlds, a lot of what we talked about in this video made seem very overwhelming and very scary. But this game is incredibly hard. It is a grind. There is a lot going on at all times. And the best I've ever done is bubbled out. I lost a win in internationals. I lost a top 16. It doesn't matter. Okay. It's all about just going out there. It's all about having fun, and don't be discouraged about any of this. Be prepared to face a bunch of champions and have a blast doing it, no matter what. Because there's nothing, like I said earlier, that I'm going to say that can prepare you for what's going to be happening in the game. But just go into it with a great mindset. Don't be afraid of anything. You're going to make mistakes. We all do, and it's a blast. And I hope to see more people a part of the community, and I hope everybody has a great time at Worlds.
Yeah, if this is your first world you're going to, have fun. Play the game and focus on the interactions. Focus on the learning experience, taking it all in. Worlds is an experience from everything that goes on. And being able to see and access Godzilla early, being able to hang out with the staff and just have those interactions, be able to talk and just socialize with former champions and upcoming champions and the pillars of the game throughout the last 20 years is a huge thing. It's one of the beauties of Universe is that our staff members and our champions and all things that aren't on a pedestal. They are just people that love to have conversations about this game. Even one of the things that annoy me when people are having go at Bill Stark is Bill Stark, similar to what Blame Simon says, loves the puzzle of this game. Loves looking at this game and going, what can they add to the puzzle? What can they do to enhance how the game is played in terms of a puzzle? And that's one of the things I absolutely love about the games that we're getting is the interactions, the way that the game is going is so deep. Like you said, this game is incredibly hard to master. It's incredibly hard to learn, but if you put the time in, my God, you'll have an absolutely amazing time in your games. So if you're a new player, don't be intimidated. If you see content creators, even if you see our biggest ones like Tam, Ace Maneuvers, if you see staff members like Levi and Guile, if you see Broberg, Nick Reagan, just go say hello. They're absolutely wonderful people that love to talk about this game. And don't be afraid to just have fun and have the experience.
Yeah, for sure. If you are at Worlds, come say hi to me. I love talking to people about this game.
Yeah, that's what one of the beautiful things. That's why we made content, because we love talking about this game.
Yeah, I don't do this for the money. There is no money involved here.
You guys are getting paid?
What?
No. Am I supposed to?
No.
No, I'm not
Only if you're
paying.
dealing Facebook groups.
we get paid in exposure.
Exposure. There you go. The artist's dream, right? Exposure.
But no, yeah, this game is so much fun, and yeah, I hadn't thought about that. If this is your first Worlds, take it from someone who's been to the last three. The games will fade, but the memories you make at Worlds are always going to be with you, because you may have been to regionals, you may have been to locals. Worlds is a completely different beast, and as adamant as I am that I'm not going, I am going to have the FOMO because it is such a cool event. And for what the sounds of what Levi and Chris and Matt are putting together, there's more to come on how cool this event's going to be. And it's going to be a proper showcase as to what regionals are next year. I think this is a great place to wrap up there. If you are a new player interested in preparing for Worlds, getting to know your deck, wanting to know more about interactions, or just want to have a chat about the game, you can reach out to anybody here, or primarily anyone in the community. We all love chatting about it. But if you want to find out more from my lovely guests here, Nick, where can people find you and your content?
Oh, you can find myself and Ryan Kogod. You can find us at Rival Stage Gaming. We're a Twitch channel. We are on YouTube, and Ryan will be at Worlds. He'll be grinding. He is a fantastic individual. He's extremely nice. Go say hi to him. Go talk to him. Go talk to everybody in the community. Worlds is going to be a festival, so go enjoy it with everybody. But YouTube, Twitch, Rival Stage Gaming.
Makes sense. And when you're not taking on Blame Siren during the Wednesday community events, you can find them at
Blame Siren 07 on Twitch, and then Siren's Card Cove on YouTube.
Makes a lot of sense. It's great to see. Yeah, Twitch is a great place to find people playing. YouTube is a great source of resources. If you want crazy theories, as my new sign out is, if you want gameplay theories, news or more, win, lose or draw, check me out on UK Versus. I have a video lined up that members are currently rewatching, where I try to figure out what the IPs of 2027 are going to be, and it may or may not contain the Care Bears. And I have legitimate reasons for thinking the Care Bears might join the game.
I'm here for
I
it.
call Grumpy Bear.
Oh, okay.
And I put it in the video, and I'm going to say here, I think that it would be the greatest thing in the world if we had a Worlds Finals, and it comes down to this next attack, and we just see like Broberg or Tim Keefe or Travis Tangerman or any of the amazing players we have just go Care Bear stare on an 8. It's like all the tension of that game just melts away as you drop the Care Bear stare.
That's good, man.
Connor's in chat saying he does it for the cold hard cash. That's fair, but you stream Dead by Daylight, so you do get paid. But thanks to you guys for being here. It's amazing that you guys were able to jump in. Big shout out to Blame Sam for jumping in last minute as well. Great to have you on. Hoping to do more collaborations in the future. I'm hoping to get more PvE back. I'm hoping to get Bake Off going a bit more. But yeah, watch this space. There's going to be a lot more content coming, and we'll catch you all game night. Bye.